Land grabbing is not reform, it is theft disguised as policy. Let's talk about what land grabbing really is. It's not about fair redistribution or lawful land reform. It's the illegal seizure of property, often orchestrated by those in power for their own benefit. Think about it. Lawful reform follows due process, respects property rights, and offers fair compensation. Land grabbing does the opposite. It's an abuse of power, a political manipulation where rules are bent and broken to take what isn't yours. This isn't just a legal issue, it's a moral one. When someone's land is taken through deceit, intimidation, or force, that's land theft. It's a profound property rights violation that causes deep injustice. We need to call it what it is, a criminal act that shatters lives and communities. The fight for justice for landowners begins with understanding this truth. This isn't policy, it's a blatant injustice against innocent people, and it's time we exposed it. The term land grab injustice perfectly captures the essence of this crime, where the powerful prey on the vulnerable, leaving a trail of devastation. It's a direct assault on the fundamental right to own and keep what is rightfully yours. Behind every land grab is a family that lost everything. These aren't just statistics or news headlines. We're talking about real people, the hidden victims of land grabs. Families who have lived on their land for generations, farmers whose entire livelihood depends on their fields, and small business owners who built their dreams from the ground up. Suddenly, they face forced eviction. They lose their homes, their income, and the legacy they hoped to pass on to their children. The trauma is immense. It's not just economic, it's deeply psychological. Imagine the despair of watching your home being demolished or your farm being taken over. There's a silence that surrounds this issue, created by fear and intimidation. Victims are often too scared to speak out, fearing retaliation. This land rights abuse creates a cycle of suffering, where people feel helpless and abandoned. The injustice against landowners is a profound wound, not just on their finances, but on their spirit. Their land is stolen, and with it, their security, their history, and their future. We must give a voice to these silent victims and shed light on their struggle. When the courts fail, injustice becomes policy. So why does the justice system so often fail land grab victims? The sad truth is, the system designed to protect them is often the very thing that fails them. A major reason is political influence over the courts. When powerful people with vested interests can sway legal outcomes, the scales of justice are no longer balanced. We see justice delayed for years, sometimes decades, until victims give up or run out of resources. In many cases, justice is denied altogether. Corruption within land reform processes is another huge problem. Procedures that are supposed to be fair become tools for the corrupt to legitimize illegal land seizures. This creates a heartbreaking reality where victims have no effective legal remedy. They follow the rules, they file the papers, they show up to court, but the outcome is predetermined. This is what we mean by a corrupt justice system. It's not just a few bad apples. It's a systemic failure. When the government itself is involved in or enables government corruption, where do people turn? Political land grabs thrive in this environment, making a mockery of the law. When the courts fail, they don't just deny a single case, they validate the injustice. No land is stolen without consequences. But what happens when the legal system fails you? Is that the end of the road? No, justice is bigger than any legal system. There's a universal principle at play, one that many cultures and philosophies refer to as the law of consequence, or sowing and reaping. Simply put, what you put out into the world comes back to you. No act of injustice, no matter how cleverly hidden or legally sanctioned, escapes this universal law. While earthly courts may be corruptible, there is a higher justice that is not. This isn't about wishing for bad things to happen to others. It's about understanding that there's a natural and moral accountability for every action. Those who orchestrate land theft and cause immense suffering may think they've won, but they have sown seeds of discord, pain, and injustice. The harvest from those seeds is inevitable. It may not be immediate, and it may not be visible to us, but the consequences will manifest morally, spiritually, and even across generations. This concept of karma justice or divine justice offers a profound truth. No one gets away with it. There's a spiritual justice that ensures balance is eventually restored. Justice is not revenge, it is restoration. If you are a victim of a land grab, it can feel like you are completely powerless, especially when the system has failed you. but you are not powerless. It's crucial to understand that seeking justice is not about seeking revenge or resorting to violence. True justice is about restoration. It's about reclaiming your dignity, finding your voice, and achieving a sense of closure, even if the land itself is not returned. The healing from injustice begins when you decide to take your power back. This means refusing to be a silent victim and starting the journey toward inner peace and resolution. How do you do that? How do you find justice for land grab victims when the system is broken? There is a path to reclaiming what was taken from you, not just materially, but emotionally and spiritually. Time for Justice was created to guide you on this path. It provides the tools and understanding needed to navigate this difficult journey and find the land grab, justice, and closure you deserve. You can heal, you can be restored, and you can find peace. If you are a victim of land grabbing and the system failed you, there is another path to justice. The link is below. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to support our work in bringing these important stories to light. Land grabbing is not reform, it is theft disguised as policy. Let's be very clear about this. When we talk about land grabbing, we're not discussing legitimate land reform designed to correct historical imbalances. We're talking about illegal land seizure, a raw abuse of power where the powerful take what isn't theirs. Land reform, when done correctly, follows the law. It's a transparent process with fair compensation and due process. It aims to create a more equitable society. Land grabbing, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's often shrouded in secrecy, driven by political manipulation and personal greed. It's a property rights violation of the highest order. Think about it. Someone using their influence to change laws or bend rules just to take your property. That's not policy. That's outright land theft. They might call it development, they might call it progress, but at its core, it's an injustice. When a system allows for the seizure of land without fair process, it undermines the very foundation of property ownership and creates a world where no one's as home is truly safe. This is the injustice we need to expose the difference between lawful reform and criminal seizure. We're fighting for justice for landowners who have had their rights trampled. Behind every land grab is a family that lost everything. These aren't just faceless statistics or news headlines. These are the hidden victims, the human cost of property injustice. We're talking about families who have lived on their land for generations, farmers whose entire livelihood is tied to their soil, and small business owners whose dreams were built on a piece of property that was suddenly ripped away. The loss is devastating and multi-layered. It's not just the loss of a house, it's the loss of a home, a sanctuary. It's not just the loss of income, it's the loss of a future, of generational wealth, of a legacy meant to be passed down. This forced eviction and land rights abuse inflicts deep psychological and economic trauma. The stress, the anxiety, the feeling of utter helplessness can shatter lives. And what makes it worse is the silence. Fear and intimidation are powerful tools used by those who orchestrate these land grabs. Victims are often too scared to speak out, worried about retaliation against their families. They are made to feel powerless, isolated in their suffering. But their stories of stolen land must be told. The injustice against landowners cannot be allowed to remain hidden in the shadows. We have to give a voice to these victims and acknowledge their profound loss. When the courts fail, injustice becomes policy. This is the heartbreaking reality for so many land grab victims who turn to the justice system for help, only to find the doors shut. Why does this happen? Too often, it's because the system itself is compromised. Political influence can seep into the courts, tilting the scales of justice in favor of the powerful and well-connected. We see cases delayed for years, sometimes decades, until victims give up or run out of resources. We see evidence ignored and rulings that defy all logic. This is justice denied. Corruption within land reform processes is also rampant. Officials who are supposed to oversee fair distribution instead use their positions to enrich themselves and their allies, turning a program meant for good into a tool for political land grabs. When judges and officials are part of the problem, victims are left with no legal remedy. The very institutions designed to protect them become instruments of their oppression. This is what a corrupt justice system looks like. It creates a cycle of despair where land corruption goes unpunished and ordinary people lose all faith in the law. This failure of the courts is not just a legal issue. It's a moral crisis that allows injustice to become the law of the land. No land is stolen without consequences. When the legal system fails and courts offer no relief, it's easy to feel like injustice has won. But we must remember that justice is much bigger than any human court. There is a universal law of consequences, a principle as old as time itself. What you sow, you will eventually reap. This isn't just a hopeful saying. It's a fundamental truth of the universe. No act of injustice, no matter how cleverly hidden or legally sanctioned, escapes this higher law. Those who engage in land theft, who cause immense suffering for personal gain, are planting seeds of their own future sorrow. This accountability might not come in a courtroom, but it will come. It could be moral, spiritual, or even generational. This is the realm of karma, justice, or divine justice, a belief that a higher power or a natural order will ultimately balance the scales. This spiritual justice ensures that no one gets away with it. The consequences may not be immediate, but they are inevitable. Understanding this law of consequence gives power back to the victims. It's a reminder that while man-made systems can be corrupted, there is a higher justice that cannot be bribed, manipulated, or escaped. The universe keeps score. Justice is not revenge, it is restoration. If you are a victim of a land grab, you might feel powerless, defeated by a system that has failed you. But you are not powerless. The path to justice for land grab victims may not always lead through a courtroom, but it does exist. It's about seeking justice without resorting to violence or becoming consumed by a desire for revenge. Revenge only perpetuates the cycle of pain. True justice aims for something more profound: restoration and healing from injustice. This journey is about reclaiming what was taken from you, not just your property, but your dignity, your voice, and your peace of mind. It's about finding closure. You can stand up, speak your truth, and refuse to be silenced. You can expose the injustice and hold the perpetrators accountable in the court of public and moral opinion. For those who feel lost and don't know where to begin, know that there are ways to navigate this difficult path. Time for Justice was created to serve as a guide for victims, helping them find their way toward justice and closure. It's about empowering you to reclaim your story and begin the process of healing. If you are a victim of land grabbing and the system failed you, there is another path to justice. The link is below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to support our mission.